Sukheja, thank you so very much for gracing our amazing session.
Hey, thank
Please
you.
come on in. I'd love to share stage with you. Vishal Sukheja.
Pleasure to be here.
So before we start with the session, right, there is one question we've been wanting to ask you. So we have to know, what is your dream product? That one creation that will change lives, but you think the world is not ready for it yet, hence it is not launched yet.
Well, I would like to believe that I am working on my dream product right now, because as we kind of go ahead in the session, right, you will kind of get a quick glimpse into what's possible with a product like this, which can truly revolutionize the way marketing globally gets done. So when you kind of look at it from a consumer perspective, right, how many times have you thought, hey, I'm getting too many spam messages? Or, hey, hang on, I've been a customer of this brand for 10 years now. I think the brand should have known me by now. And there's typically a gap. The product that I'm going to talk to you today about aims to fulfill that gap. And I wouldn't say the market's not ready for it, because obviously we're seeing some amazing traction there. But there are features under wraps for now, which we will announce in the coming quarters, which we do believe the world's not necessarily ready for, but we are ready to go.
Mr. Vishal, let me tell you, I do this for a living, but that is the best product placement I have ever seen in my life. Fantastic answer. Over to you.
All right. Thanks much, Nikita. I'm going to share my screen here. Without any further ado, I'll kind of get into the session right away. So firstly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me here today. Over the next few minutes, I intend to speak to you a little bit around how are BFSI businesses like yourself adapting to the evolving consumer behavior. Now, before I actually get into the meat, right? I mean, maybe just I'll start with a small story that's a little close to home. So if I look at the way my parents, who are incidentally both senior citizens based in India, the way they typically tend to interact with anything remotely BFSI. Now, these are individuals who are fairly risk averse, if I'll call it that. And these are individuals who for the longest time ever did not even have a debit card. But to my surprise, over the last 18 to 24 months, I would imagine, they have not only been showing some amazing keenness to get onto newer platforms, but they have also been moving into newer digital products and services that these banks, these financial institutes that they give their business to essentially offer. Now, if I kind of look at it, if kind of step back, right? I mean, these were individuals who truly believed in the relationship aspect of relationship banking, the way that was originally defined. And even though they are kind of moving their entire experiences now over phygital from the erstwhile purely offline or purely physical experiences that they had, what has not necessarily changed is the value that they potentially attribute to their money and them seeking out trust and safety across each of those interfaces through which they are interacting with any BFSI player that they partake in right now. So what that would basically imply again there is that while their interactions may have moved to contactless medium, they have moved more digital and have become a little more digital savvy than they perhaps were earlier, they still do carry an expectation though that the experience that the brand is providing them should be humanized. Any communication that the brand is delivering to them should be relevant and it should be contextual to them. And it should be delivered with a sense of compassion or empathy, saying that, hey, I know you may not necessarily understand all the nuances that I'm talking about here. Let me maybe break it down to tell you how this is essentially relevant to you. And obviously, I'm kind of limiting the evolution to what is specific to the BFSI space. So while we're kind of seeing this, right, on one side, there are obviously plenty of reports out there that speak about how these brands, how BFSI companies like yourself are viewing these challenges. And is there firstly an intent to try and resolve for such customers as well? Essentially going down to figure out what the ideal experience should be across the entire value chain. So there was this report by McKinsey that kind of caught our eye, again, fairly recent, that kind of spoke about how over the last 12 months, 53% of cumulative customer interactions with your brands today have gone digital. And this is basically the mean for experiences that they have collated across APAC as a region. Now, at the same time, while 53% of the interactions went digital, the new products, which were essentially either now newly digitized, either wholly or partially, that hit a number close to 54%. So more than half of the products now were available in digital forms. And obviously here there are some markets which are a little ahead of others. To account for this change, what a lot of banking executives like yourself again are doing are figuring out means to direct their organizations to better control this customer engagement, to better control the overall customer experience. And obviously towards that, the pandemic obviously has kind of accelerated a bunch of these. Incidentally, again, a similar report in the space spoke about a number saying that the digital transformation that brands like yourselves have undertaken, the roadmaps have been accelerated by a minimum of about 4 years on an average. And this is the numbers for APAC. While in terms of the newer products and types of institutes coming up to solve these needs, that number is again where incidentally APAC is a little ahead of other markets, where we are seeing closer to a 7x growth or acceleration versus the other markets which are closer to a 3 or a 3.5x. There is a significantly more amount of dollars being now kept aside to migrate your banking resources or banking assets to the cloud. There is significantly more dollars being spent to boost up or essentially enhance the data security, because that obviously becomes something of paramount consideration. But at the same time, there are these are initiatives that the banks are very well going ahead and investments that any bank or financial service institute seems to be making, simply because 63% of the business leaders surveyed here believe that these changes that we are seeing, either be it in terms of the evolution of the customer or being in the way what is defined, again at the risk of using an oft abused term, the new normal, they believe these changes are not transitory, they will stick. So these are here for the long term. So what that basically means is that you obviously have, as any other industry, your customers whose expectations will continue to evolve, and there is significant intent. There is intent and there are marketing dollars, there are technology dollars being put behind by BFSI organizations to solve this issue. But again, there we are seeing certain gaps, we are seeing certain dissonances. And again, this is not necessarily only specific to India, but across US, APAC markets as well. Now, why does this happen? So if there's intent, the problem that a lot of the brands in this space face is this, which is that they are today running a disparate data silo, or they are essentially running a completely disjointed stack. Now, that obviously is through no fault of theirs, because customer expectations, as we kind of saw, have evolved. So a customer will want to come in onto newer interfaces and interact with your brands. And as brands, you will want to have the best of breed solutions to better manage those interactions. The problem happens when these different tools that you have, either to better manage this interaction or to store this customer data, they are not able to talk to each other. And again, that will typically happen because you do not have the customer coming in and providing the common primaries across each of these interfaces. So what you are left is with a bunch of data silos where every tool is making its decisions based on the intelligence that it has access to. And that becomes one of the key challenges that also leads to obviously data latencies, because there is distributed data, there is distributed intelligence. Not every tool gets the intelligence it requires at the time of decision making. And incidentally, a lot of the interactions that you brands would be capturing today are anonymous in nature. So when I come on to, let's say, my a particular brand's website and I start browsing, I don't announce, hey, I'm Vishal, I'm an existing customer, this is my profile, and incidentally, now I'm looking out for this product. So, or when I, for example, go in on social and I interact with a brand, I'm again not necessarily announcing who I am there. So all of those obviously lead to data losses, because not every tool out there may be equipped to get access to such anonymous interaction data as well. Plus, you obviously have in the BFSI space, you have evolving privacy regulations coming in, which also puts a lot of onus on the technologists in the organization as well as the marketeers. Now, and this obviously I'm referencing to everything from the upcoming Indian IDPAs to the PDPA, CCPA, GDPRs of the world. And to kind of take care of all of this, what most brands end up doing is pumping up more dollars at the top of the funnel, hoping that enough will trickle through and give them the throughput that they require to hit their objectives for the year. Just the way business typically gets done here. So that becomes the problem. So how do you solve this? And that is exactly where you have platforms like customer data, which are essentially termed as customer data platforms like FirstHive, that come in. So before I actually get there, right, what should be your ideal customer data journey? To be able to better understand who your customers are who are interacting with you across these touch points. What are the specific data points or attributes that you can potentially capture from that interaction? How do you make better sense of it? And how do you then use that for better business decision making, which could again power a host of internal workflows? That becomes the core objective that you're trying to drive. And the first piece that you need to ensure here is to make sure that you have connectors, you have listeners, so to say, across the entire tool and stack set from where your customers are coming in and interacting with you, or you are storing that data. Now, this data obviously could be digital in nature, or it could be data that's accumulated from offline sources. This could be structured data. It could be unstructured in the form of raw customer care voice, images, video, social comments, and so on. But you need to have a platform, a system that is able to ingest all of this data, put it together in a single interface for access firstly, and then utilize advanced algorithms to not only look for specific primaries across these data sets, but also go ahead and build holistic customer profiles for you. That becomes the core building block that can then subsequently power any activation, any orchestration, any internal workflow for any downstream system that you have. And also where any advanced data models that either you would be utilizing today or a vendor could potentially provide for you could also be applied. And that in a nutshell is what FirstHive enables for brands. We help brands get access to help them understand their first party data asset as a differentiator, help them understand who their customers are, and help them subsequently deliver significantly enhanced customer experience across the value chain. A few case studies that I want to call out in the limited time I have left here. Firstly, I want to talk about this leading private bank who has deployed FirstHive to power its entire mortgage lead acquisition business. Now, obviously, this becomes a fairly big ticket item for most banks. And as such, they have deployed FirstHive to connect or engage with their connectors. And this ensures that, one, while the bank itself gets complete visibility to all the leads that these connectors can potentially funnel in, the connectors in turn will get complete visibility on their funnel, the statuses, payouts, as well as what is the amount dispersed, the lead statuses, and so on. Net, what this has done is, as an industry first, there are today over 20,000 plus connectors who have been onboarded successfully on the platform. And for the bank today, this accounts for over 20% of their cumulative new loans disbursed in any given year. The second example I want to take again here is how a brand, which is again in the general insurance space, has leveraged FirstHive to better drive automated journeys for its policy renewals. Now, anyone who understands insurance would obviously appreciate that renewals are the bread and butter. They are the core revenue stream for any organization in that space. And because of the data silos, there were two problems that the brand essentially started facing. One was not having necessarily a clear clarity on their funnel, especially when it came to renewals. And there were certain manual overlays that were required to better drive those conversion metrics. And the second piece was, because a lot of the interactions happen to be anonymous, how do they potentially segment the customers to drive sharper cross-sell, upsell segments? And that is what they have been able to achieve by utilizing FirstHive over the past few years. The next example here is a large global asset management company, again, a leading AMC in its space. It has integrated FirstHive across its entire value chain, which starts off from its offline data, from its branches, its distributor channels, as well as its own direct channels, which include their website, their customer care data, their branch walk-ins, as well as their internal chatbots, social, customer care, and so on. Now, across this entirety of data breadcrumbs, which are essentially being captured, FirstHive is accumulating all of this data, enabling the core single customer view using our hybrid ML models, and then making it available for a host of forward activations that one, drive new customer acquisitions or new investor acquisitions, as well as your SIP renewals and your cross-sell upsell campaigns that they are leveraging on the platform. What this core data set has also enabled this brand to incidentally do here is, one, create significantly simple overlay rules as part of a lead management module plugin, so that they are able to ensure that every lead gets the desired respect that it deserves to push it through the funnel. And secondly, they are also able to drive a B2B2C kind of a scenario wherein they are now engaging or communicating directly with the investors mapped to certain external third-party distributors. And all of that gets done in a consent-backed, privacy-first environment. And again, this is an industry first, leading significant gains for the bank. The last example I want to take here is a leading NBFC here who has leveraged FirstHive to drive its acquisition again for its loan business. Now, again here, what FirstHive has enabled them to do is get a clear access of what the customer intent is across anonymous interactions that get collated from different channels, understand that intent, and make sure that they are able to then reach out to these customers with the right message in the right channel at the right potential time, where that will potentially yield a response. And this is something that is not only impacting their top of the funnel metrics in terms of number of leads generated and the cost per lead, but also their middle of the funnel metrics in terms of what is the lift that we are showcasing for the lead to appointment and the appointment to dispersal ratios as well. So that is largely what I wanted to share in the time that I had today. Our team has been available through the day across these sessions. So feel free to ping any of them for any discussions you may have, or write to us at marketing@firsthive.com, and we'll be happy to schedule a whiteboarding for you. Thanks much.